everybody. Let me get my pages all set up. Make sure I've got audio. 1 second. There's a delay, so it takes me a minute to tell. Let's see. And yep, there's volume. Okay, now I can mute myself because I don't need hearing myself once is plenty. No, more than enough actually. Let's see. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks for joining. Now, tonight's going to be a little bit different. I am not going to be it's not going to be a normal Q&A because I'm not going to finish this in 2 hours if I keep stopping and answering questions. So I'll kind of keep an eye on the chat. If there's a question that's related to this, I'll try to jump in, or if I'm sitting here waiting for paint to dry. But for the most part, I'm not going to be answering questions like we normally do. But yeah, okay, let's get started because I knew I forgot something. I need my palette knife. Do I have one up here? Maybe I'll be lucky and one's sitting in front of me. Nope. Be right back. Okay, so the very first thing that we are going to do is get the stars in the background. So what I will do, I need a kind of stiff brush. Let's grab, that one isn't stiff enough. 1 second. Ooh, this one's nice and damaged. That'll probably create some nice stars. So I've got this brush that I'm going to use. It's just a flat. I usually use round brushes. If you've got a toothbrush, that actually works really well too. But it's very stiff. It's damaged. I have not cleaned it very well over the years. It's probably been used for oil paint some time ago, so it's even more stiff. And I'm going to use a palette knife, after I throw stuff on the floor, to flick the paint onto the canvas. So I've already got my base color of the purple that I want. You can do any color you want for the base. It could be red, orange, anything you want. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of water. I don't want too much. I'm going to thin out some white paint. And I'm going to flick this by pulling the palette knife towards me. Don't pull away from you or push it away from you, or you will flick yourself in the paint in the face with paint. So we're just going to lightly flick some of that to get some stars. And I don't care if this goes on top of the pumpkin or the raven or anything else because we haven't done that yet. I'm going to get a little bit thicker chunks on here, add a little bit more water. You can't really see this that well on the video, but you can put as many stars or as few as you want. There we go. Now we've got kind of a night sky. So I'm going to just wipe my palette knife off, clean off or rinse off that brush and set it to the side. Is everyone all hyped up on sugar from Halloween candy? We don't get trick-or-treaters here. I'm in an apartment, so I do not have candy in the house, thank God. So the next thing I'm going to do is paint my moon. And I'm going to be using a Taklon bristled filbert. This is softer than the brush I had just used. You can you don't have to use the same brushes that I'm using at all. I'm telling you what I'm using, but honestly, I could grab any one of like 10 different brushes and get the exact same results. So don't feel like if you don't have what I have, you can't make it look right. So I'm going to, again, get some water. And actually, I'm going to tone down, I'm going to make my moon a little bit darker to start with. Let's make it a darker purple. So I'm going to pull some purple, some of the blue. I used this light blue in my purple for the background. So we've got this light purple now. And I am just going to go around that edge, make a, hopefully close to a circle. And that's all I need for this one because it's going to fade off into the distance down here. So I don't need that to be super, super clean. No, if you're getting bumpy edges on the moon, that means you need more paint or more water or mixing medium, if you're using that, on your brush. And I'm just going to kind of be messy with that because I'm going to pull some of the background purple back into it, or purple and black, really. We'll just paint that in. Now you can just paint your moon white. I've done that too, and then glazed purple over it. When it comes to painting, there are so many different ways to get to almost the exact same end. So there's no one right or wrong way to do things. I mean, unless it comes to like putting water-based products on top of oil-based products. That would be wrong because it's not archival. But I mean, as far as like just trying to get certain looks, there's so many different ways that you can do that. I want to make sure I get this moon all the way up to the bird here. Clean that up. Okay. I'm going to rinse my brush off, set that to the side. Now, I need that to dry before I can do the little details in the moon. So while that dries, we're going to skip down here and get our base layer on the little wood shelf. So I have a burnt sienna color. It's not a real dark brown, but if I add a little bit of black to it, I'll get a nice chocolate dark brown, which is what I want. Just mix those together, add a little bit of water because it's too thick. And I go ahead and get my base layer of this dark brown. Now I'm not going to put too much detail on this shelf just yet because when I do the background, some of the background colors will get on top of it. I'm just getting a base for now. No, this isn't anything that like has to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination because we're going to be messy later. And the other thing with this shelf, it does not have to be perfectly straight. It has a very rustic feel to it where it's not a... The person who made this shelf didn't take woodworking classes basically, or if they did, they didn't do well in them. Okay, good enough. Eric Drow says, I want to do this, but I'm not fully ready. Just get started and catch up as you go. You don't have to do it. I mean, the video is going to stay up on YouTube. So if you're here live and you start to fall behind or you're not quite ready, it's not a problem. I mean, you'll be able to rewatch different parts. Okay, plug your ears. I am going to take the hairdryer to this. Okay, I'm going to paint some little craters in the moon. And what I'll do first, this makes it a little bit easier. Take a white charcoal pencil and I can draw out where I'm going to want those circles. That way if I decide I put it somewhere and I hated it, my paint is not fully dry and so it's not sticking very well, unfortunately. But if I put something on there and it really hated it, I can easily erase it. If you can't see these very well, don't worry, neither can I, because I didn't wait for my paint to dry all the way. Christian said, can you try doing a painting of a snake in oil painting? You know, I don't know if I'm going to do oils, though. I think I'm going to do colored pencil. One of the reference photos for Patreon this month was this green snake that is gorgeous. I love the photo so much. And so, yeah, but I'm probably going to do him with colored pencil because there's so much detail that I think would just be a lot of fun to do with that. So I do have a snake coming, just not in oil paint. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, which brush do I want? Let's go with a liner brush. I'm going to take two brushes. One is a liner brush. This one is a number 2 synthetic hog hair liner brush. The other is just this stiff round brush that I'm going to use for blending out. What I'm going to do is take a bit of white. I'll do the highlights first. Actually, no. Do highlights or shadows first. Decisions. What'll be easier? Change my mind. Before I get to the liner brush, I'm going to add some highlights to the moon. So I'm just going to take a little bit of white paint. There is some water on this brush. A little bit more water on that brush. And I'm going to get a highlight and smudge that out. So I'm just going to go around this edge, brighten that up. Now, unfortunately, just the nature of webcams and the lighting on my easel, you may not be able to see the moon that well. It's okay. You can make him however you want yours to be. They don't, I mean, this is not something that all has to look the same or perfect. It's just make a moon. Helpful, aren't I? You'll see more when we get down into the bird with the darker colors. You'll be able to really see, and the pumpkin and the shelf and everything shows up a lot better. But now I've got this highlight. Now, the highlight that you're seeing, let me move this so I can at least show you what mine looks like, because yours shows, actually, it looks kind of better there, but it looks like I've got highlights where I don't. That's a little bit more accurate, kind of. There you go. You can see I just have a little bit of a highlight on mine. It's not as much as what you guys are seeing. I would leave my light there, but then I can't see what I'm doing either. Let's pull this back up. Okay. Maybe I'll make mine a little bit brighter. But the fun thing with this is a very loose style. Nothing on this has to be perfect, perfectly blended, anything. This is very, very, well, loose. I'm going to take a mop brush and soften that just a little bit. Oops. Okay. So now I'm going to dry that again, and then I'm going to do the stage that I thought I was just going to do with those little craters in the moon. So let me rinse that brush off, set that guy to the side. Yes, Kathy, there's no right or wrong with the brushes, with anything. Just pick any brushes. Everybody, any brush that you want, grab it, use it. You can't, I mean, like I said before, you could give me one of 10, 20 brushes, and I can make it all look the same. It really isn't that big of a deal, and especially on something like this with this very loose style, it's really not a big deal. Okay, now I'm going to put some highlights and shadows. So I'm just going to take some of my black. Actually, I'm going to mix some purple in with that so it's not straight black. For me, I'm going with purple because that's my background color. So let's say you did a magenta background. I would go with magenta with some black for this. So I've got some of the background color. I'm going to create some shadows so that these craters look like they have a little bit of depth. So we've got this side where I'm acting like the moon when the sun is coming from that side. So actually, let's get this brush a little bit damp. It's a little too dry. That blended way too fast. So I need more water. If it dries too fast and you didn't get a chance to blend, like what just happened to me there, it lets me know I need a little bit more paint or more water in my brush. Also, this brush could be a little bit more damp. Too damp and it'll just work like an eraser. There we go. Now we've got a nice shadow. I'm going to do the opposite side and still pull that direction. So all my shadows are going to be pulling this way. So this is the inside of the crater. Here's the outside, but the shadow goes the same direction both times. Reload that brush. Let's go ahead, make a big crater up here. I'm going to push a little bit harder on my brush so that more paint comes off of it. I'm just going to smudge that outer edge. I'm just doing little circles. Don't overblend this. You just need a little bit. And then stop. One of the problems when people blend this way, where I'm blending dry paint or wet paint over a dry area, is that they overblend. They keep doing these circles and they end up pushing all the paint away. I want this outer edge harsh. I want the inner edge soft. That's all I'm doing. And it only takes a few brush strokes to do that. You don't want to blend and blend and blend until you just have kind of a weird whole thing that doesn't work. So now, same thing, outside of the crater now. It's a little messy. I'm going to get that brush a little bit more wet again, the one that I'm blending out with. I'm getting a bit more than I want there. We'll erase some of that. Just let that pull out. There we go. Yes, this is Liquitex Basics. All of the supplies that I'm using are listed in the video description. Honestly, with something this style, you could pretty much use craft paint and it'll look the same. This isn't, we're not doing some crazy blending or crazy, you know, glazing or anything like that. So this is, you're pretty free to use anything for a painting this style. And again, pull out that same direction. It's getting a little fuzzy there. Sharpen that edge. And you can put as many craters as you want, or you can leave them out altogether. I just think they're a fun addition. They have a surreal look, obviously not realistic at all. You're not going to see craters quite like this, but I just always thought they were fun to include in a painting. And these do not need to be perfect circles. It's actually better if they're not. Couple of little guys in here. And if you are not keeping up with me, do not worry. I paint abnormally fast, but I need to paint at my normal speed like this. I can't slow it down too much or we will not finish tonight. So you'll just pause the video and get caught up and then continue play when you get to that stage. Yeah, this would actually be fun. Judith doing this in pan pastels. I could see that being a good fit. Vladimir said, have you ever tried old trick? No, I have not. There's some good project with things. I'm actually not going to be answering many questions tonight because I need to focus on getting this done because it's not a normal live stream. I know, that's no fun. I apologize. But if I do stop to answer questions, I stop painting and we just won't finish tonight. I'm going crazy with these. I think this may be one of my last. Maybe I'll do a couple little ones after this and then move on to highlights. Okay, we'll call that good for now. So I'm going to rinse that brush. And you can put, there's no right or wrong here because, again, not super realistic. You can put as many of these little craters as you want. That is totally up to you. Remember, we're going to paint over because we're going to create these brush strokes over a lot of this moon anyway. So you're not going to see everything. Don't worry about things being perfect. Nothing in this needs to be perfect. So I'm going to take some white, add some water to that. We're going to get a few highlights on the opposite side of these craters. And I'm going to pull the highlight the opposite direction of the shadow. So on this one, this upper circle, before I pulled down, now I'm pulling up. This goes the other direction. And what's happening is this is going to create a little bit more of a three-dimensional look. So it looks like these little craters are lifted up out of the moon some. I can already see right now, after the live stream is over, people in comments, not you guys, but people in the comments later will watch these and will pick apart everything I do. I can already see people going, that's not realistic. I know it's not supposed to be. And see how now adding this highlight, we're getting a bit more dimension there. And that one really shows. I'm going to raise this out a little bit just so you can get a bit more of a view of what I mean. Because I know there you go. You can see here on this guy now with the white on the opposite side how that looks like it's lifted off the canvas some. So you get that extra dimension. Okay. Every time I do that I have to reset up the way I've got my computer screen. There we go. Oh, Fabson Draws Yellow would work really well for this too. For the moon. I think that would look really cool, like a warm glow. Jenny Locke, yes, the worms. You know what I'm talking about. Had the weirdest comment of someone telling me it was just weird on last week's live stream video, the colored pencil one. Apparently my work looked like something about oily and worms, and I don't even know what she was. I don't understand what her problem was, but it was kind of hilarious. I think she was trying to insult me, but she really made herself look. It was entertaining. Okay, couple more here. There we go. Oops, let's get this guy too, a little bit brighter. So there we go, basic moon. Now normally if I'm gonna do a moon and try to make it have this type of dimension, but still look a little bit more realistic, I'm gonna do more with shading and layering and glazing, and there'd be more involved. But here, because of the way that we're gonna do the brush strokes in the background, or at least the way I'm gonna do my brush strokes, you could leave yours like this if you wanted, I'm not gonna bother with too much when it comes to shading and such. I am gonna darken a little bit with purple first, and then I'm just gonna jump right in with creating this rough brush stroke in the back. Okay, let me see. Let me dry this really quick with a hair dryer. Okay, I'm going to go back to that brush that I originally used to create the moon. And I'm going to take some of this purple mixed with a little bit of black. I'm also going to take one of these stiff brushes to blend out. Let me just dry that a little. I'm just going to darken this just a bit more on this side. And then I'm going to take this brush that it has a little bit of water on it. I'm just going to smudge that out. And it is completely okay. I'm not even going to blend out with like a mop brush. Brush strokes are fine for this. It's one of the fun things. This is a fun style to paint. If you ever decide to have like a paint night on your own, like have friends over and do stuff, paint in a loose style like this. So there's very little pressure, but it still looks like it's a very fun thing to paint. Okay. So now we've got our moon. And I'm going to rinse these brushes and set them to the side. Remember, with acrylic paint, it just dries really fast. So whenever you rinse your brushes, never let them sit in the water. Rinse them out, lay them flat to dry. Or, you know, I'll dab them on a paper towel and then lay them flat to dry. Don't let them sit in the water. You will damage your brushes super, super fast. Helen said you could glaze a bit of moon glow at the end if you want. Yeah, you could do so many cool things. You're pretty unlimited on anything you want to do with these. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this really quick. Okay, now this isn't 100% dry. If I were going to glaze on top of this, I would need to spend a little bit more time drying this. I can tell you right now, if I tried glazing, some of that paint is going to lift off. But I'm going to be putting heavy, thick paint on this, so it's not going to hurt anything, so I don't need to spend the time making sure it's completely dry. But if you ever aren't really sure if, okay, do I need to let this layer dry all the way? Do I not? Be safe, just let it dry all the way. If you're painting on your own and you get that, like, I don't know if I should let it dry or if I can let it stay wet, if it's going to mess it up, just let it dry and be safe. Okay, so what I'm going to do is mix some purple and black, a lot of black. I'm going to make it really dark, and it's very similar if you saw the black cat that I did no, it wasn't even last year. I think it was like 3 years ago. It was a few years ago. The black cat with the 3 pumpkins. I'm going to do a background very similar to that. In that one, I think I used a sponge brush. This time, I'm going to be using just a flat brush. Now, normally, on that one, I used a larger brush too, but because it's hard for me to stop and go clean that in the sink, which is what needs to happen after I use a brush that size. It doesn't really work in a small water well. I'm just going to go a little bit smaller for my brush strokes this year. So I'm going to add a little bit of water. I've got my black paint. Let's get a scoop of purple. I don't want that white in there. You can see how I've got white there. I don't want to scoop from that because if I add white, I'm going to end up with a gray color that I do not want. So I want to make sure no white gets mixed into this. Now I'm going to dry this brush a little bit because right now that is a lot of paint on here. Okay for my outer edges, but it's more than I want. What I'm doing is what we call dry brushing. I don't want a ton of paint. I don't want a ton of water on this brush. I want to let it be very rough looking. So more often than not, you'll hear me say when I'm creating something that's very realistic, I want to avoid dry brushing. Don't like the look. For this is one of those times where dry brushing looks great. This is what I'm trying to get. So I'm going to take my paper towel and I'm just going to wipe some of that paint off, so the brush isn't too heavily saturated. I'm just going to make brush strokes back and forth. And I'm letting this be very, very rough. Now, I would rather see you do like what I did here, where I painted over my pumpkin, than go just up to the pumpkin and then have an outline. We don't want it to look like there's an outer glow. We want to make it look like this brush stroke is going right behind that subject. So here, let it go behind it. Now, don't do too much though, because we don't want to completely cover the purple. But we do want to loosen that up. And now you can see why the bottom of the moon didn't really matter, because I'm going to pull some of that into here too. This is one of those things, less is more. You're going to do a couple of brush strokes and be like, it looks great, and then do too many. So try not to do that. Worst case scenario, if that did happen to you, you could repaint it. So it's not like the end of the world or anything, but you do want to try to don't get too excited. Don't have too much fun with the black here. Do less, back away from it, see if you need to add more, but don't just jump right in and cover everything. I want to see some of the purple. I want to see some of the stars. Going over the moon just a little bit. There we go. And I think that's all I'm going to do for my black with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse this brush off. I just said that wrong. Wants to know if I'm working from reference. Sort of. I'm using my old painting as a reference just so I can remember what style I painted it in. I did find a crow from Pixabay or not a crow, a raven, so that I've got a general outline, but I'm not painting it realistically, so that isn't super important. But the links to what I'm using are in the video description. I just remembered I have coffee. Oh, that's a good one too. Okay. Vanilla. Ooh, that one was really vanilla-y. I haven't had that one in a while. That was good. Okay. So next, let's go back and we're going to start working on the wood shelf. So I want to use a flat, straight brush. So when you want straight lines, I like to go with a flat brush like this. So you can see how it just goes straight across. Well, maybe you can't see. Here, now you can see straight across. Whereas when I talk about things being a filbert, this one is a filbert. See how it's rounded? Now this brush I'm not going to have with the filbert. I won't have brush strokes as harsh. I won't have as harsh of start-stop points. With a flat brush, you get the harsher stop and start points. But if you want to use a flat brush to the side, you can use it like a liner brush to get nice straight lines. So let's say I'm painting a fence, or in this case, straight lines on the wood, or semi-straight lines on the wood shelf. Then I really like the flat brush for that. Kilo wants to know if I will do a watercolor painting soon. I will for sure with the watercolor pencils. I've got lots of projects planned right now. Okay, I'm going to take brown. Well, actually, I can just let some of that black show through. It doesn't really matter. Let's just go ahead. Now, if you are not comfortable just painting things in, you can take a white charcoal pencil and draw in your wood grain. Actually, I can draw some of mine back in. Or you do what I did, or typically we'll do is just freehand it in. So what I'm going to do is take a light brown first. 1 second. Let me make sure this text is not something that's an emergency. My husband is sending me something from Instagram, so I'm going to go with probably not. Okay. So I'm going to add a highlight here along the top. The edge of the shelf. This is the part that is like the edge, the side of it versus the top. And see, I can take this brush and just hold it to its side and get these straight-ish lines. Mine are pretty rough because I want this to have that rustic feel. If you want things to be really straight, you can take a piece of masking tape and use that as a guideline. Put the tape down and you can use that if you want, like, you know, a wood shelf that somebody actually passed their woodworking class when they created. I really like wood, like rustic looking things so much. I have a bunch of reclaimed wood furniture. Actually, my workbench is one of those too in my apartment. I love the look. Not a huge fan of the splinters. I always joke that I get splinters. I actually don't get them that, like, it's only happened a couple of times and then I learned stop petting the table and you won't get splinters. I know what you're thinking. Why were you petting the table? 'Cause it's pretty. No one said I was wrapped real tight. Now this is the same thing. I want to make sure that this wood grain that I'm painting in looks like it goes behind the pumpkin. So paint right over the pumpkin. Don't even worry about trying to stay outside of the edges because we're going to be painting over that anyway. Okay. That's funny. Pabs and Tross said, I love the sound of the pencil strokes make. The sounds, it's funny. ASMR, those sounds make me cringe so bad. They don't, like, a lot of people find them to be pleasing and soothing, and they just make my skin crawl. Like, make it stop. It's like, that's funny. Let's see. So those are going to be, yeah, I guess I could get a few more highlights. Let's pull this out a little bit more along the edge. Oops, I've got too much water on that brush. Okay, I'm going to rinse that out. I'm going to switch and put some dark, almost black lines. Actually, let's just simplify it. We're going with a rough look. Let's pull some of that purple black we used in the background since I've already got that out. This is what you guys hear me say all the time. Color's not that big of a deal. It's your values, your contrast. How light are your lights, how dark are your darks. That's what you want to worry about. You do not have to use any of the same colors that I use, and it can look pretty much the same if your values are right. That's what's going to make a difference. Everyone gets stuck in their head that if they chose the right color, that's what's going to make their work look realistic, and that's just not it's not true. So I'm going to take this black. I actually want to make that black kind of fade from the background, so I'm going to darken that up a bit more back there. Just kind of lightly going over the back. Same thing here, just because I don't really want that back edge too sharp or too harsh. I'm going to take another brush and just smudge that out. Okay, clean that brush because I'm done with that smudging. I dropped something. I felt it hit my leg. I don't know what it was though. You care. Nick, ASMR, look up some videos on YouTube. People get like special microphones and they record things like moving their hand through sand or their hand through marbles like that. I don't know. It just makes me cringe. I hate the sound. I never understood. Like, apparently I don't react to it like normal people do. It really makes me cringe. And people will like whisper on them. I don't know. I find it to be more creepy than soothing, I guess. But then again, I don't like whispering. Whispering is weird to me. Shocker. The girl who never shuts up doesn't like quiet noises. No one's shocked. Yeah, it can give people, what Sedana is saying, it can give people tingles. It gives me the cringes. Like, please make it stop. Okay, I'm going to make this side a shadow. I'm going to pull this purple black color out a little bit from under the pumpkin. Now I'm going to get some brighter colors. Oh good, it's not just me. FemGuardian86 cringes with ASMR too. I'm glad that it's not just me. That's so funny. I thought I was just weird because people act like it's the greatest thing and I'm like, I don't get it. I hate it. Anyway. Okay, I'm going to take the brighter brown here. Let's get some bright colors in there. See how messy I'm being? And look how far, you know, hold your hand far back on the brush. Don't be up here. If you have your hand too close to that brush, the bristles, you're not going to have you're going to be too tight. Like your brush strokes aren't going to be loose, and we want it to be loose for this style. We're not going for a super, you know, refined painting here. At least I'm not. If you're following along with me, I'm not, I should say. I guess you could take this and make yours super detailed and realistic. Okay, I may come back and change some stuff on that, but we're going to move on to the pumpkin. After I have more coffee. Okay, so now I don't necessarily want my brush stroke showing as harsh, so I'm going to switch to that filbert. So I'm back to, it's a similar type of brush. It just rounded versus straight, and this is what I'm going to use for my pumpkin. So I'm going to create a base layer of, I'm just going to mix unbleached titanium white and make kind of a light orange. This is not going to be the right orange, but I need to create something. In order for my orange to be bright enough, I need to have an opaque light color underneath, which means I can either paint the pumpkin white, I can paint it straight unbleached titanium white. In this case, I'm just basically making peach, which will not be the right color, but it is opaque enough because of that unbleached titanium white. Again, you can use titanium white if that's what you've got. This is going to cover my purple enough that I'm able to get a bright orange on top. And I'm just loosely painting around the bird. If I go over him a bit, no big deal. Haven't painted, you know, we're not done with the details on him, so I'm not messing anything up. Now, another thing is that I kept my original line drawing that I drew out on tracing paper. I kept that. So if, let's say I wanted to just paint over the bird and not even worry about where his foot goes, but I don't want to freehand it back in later. It's going to take too, I've got everything there. I can just transfer it back onto the canvas again. So that, if you keep your line drawings like that, it really does save you a lot of time. Even if you didn't trace it, if you wanted to freehand it on another piece of paper, trace it, so it's still your drawing, and then you can use that to transfer, and it just saves a lot of time. Now you've got to have enough water or mixing medium, whatever you're using, and paint on your brush in order to keep that edge smooth. If you're getting bumpy lines, that lets you know you need more paint and more water or mixing medium on the brush. Oops, let's lighten that up a bit more. Fabs and Draws wants to know if I still do classes. I do not. I don't have time to do that, and YouTube. And YouTube, the nice thing with that and like Patreon, I'm able to teach even more students for much, much cheaper for you guys than, or even free if it's just YouTube, than what I can do in person. So this seemed like a better fit for me. But I tried keeping up with my own classes locally. I just couldn't do both. Which, it kind of sucks because I do like teaching people. I mean, I just love to teach, but I love teaching people in person too. It just, there was no way for me to do both. I'm creating a little bit of a rounded bottom for the pumpkin on mine, more than what my line drawing was, just because I think it's cute. And it's okay if you have brush strokes, just try to get them to go in the direction that that pumpkin moves. So like, I don't want brush strokes going horizontally. See how I have them curving the same direction as that little bump of the pumpkin. See, I'm getting dry brush here. That lets me know even with me, I need to reload that brush. And if I have to mix more paint, it does not even remotely matter if I've got the exact same color at all. And that's actually something that almost never matters. I know people get worked up on that where it's like, I used up the paint and now I need that same color and I don't remember how to mix it. Just go for close. Again, values. Values are what matters. Now, there are times where I can see where you want something to be exact. If that's going to be the case in your painting, mix extra. But for the most part, it's your values you want to watch. Okay, rinsed out that brush. Actually, I'm going to paint my little stem guy here. Okay. And I think I'm going to make things really easy on this raven. No, because I want to let some of the purple. See, there's so many different ways you can go about it. I'm trying to think which is easier, which will look cooler. Never mind. I'm not going to change what I'm doing. It does. Gail, Bump of the Pumpkin sounds like a band, she said. It really does. Okay, I'm going to dry this. And I can already see now that I have the light, or some of the light colors of my pumpkin, I'm going to want to lighten up my wood guy here a little bit more too. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and start getting some of the shadows in the pumpkin. Actually, no, I'm going to get my base decisions. Shadows first. See, so many different ways you can do it. I'm just going to take some brown. I'm going to make some purple in with my brown. Actually, let's get some red and yellow too. Let's just mix a muddy mess of this color will be darker. You could just use a dark brown if you have that. It's, again, values. So I'm going to go along this back end. And see these brush strokes? I'm getting bumpy lines here. I need more, definitely need to get some more water on that. Oh, I think I have too much water. So now I need to mix some more paint to counter that. There we go. That's the brush stroke I wanted. So one of the reasons that I'm using purple for a lot of these shadows is just that's what's in my background. So it makes sense to use those colors. And I can pull highlights back over this so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to be going back and forth, and I'm going to let my brush stroke show. I'm not pushing very hard. I've got more water mixed in here. So if your background, let's say it was a darker magenta, I would pull more magentas into these shadows. I keep saying dark magenta because I was tempted to use that color myself because that would have looked really cool with the orange of the pumpkin. Okay, I'm going to rinse that out. Oh, that's cool, Graphite Journey. Okay, I'm going to mix some orange now. Now you're going to need more yellow than red. Red likes to take over. A little bit more water in that. Now I can get this nice orange color. If I had mixed this same color and went on top of the purple, it wouldn't have really showed up. It would have been too translucent. The orange that or the red and the yellow that I used to make my orange, very, very translucent, which is great for tinting color, but not so much for, this is not an opaque paint. If you want an opaque paint, try like the Liquitex Heavy Body, even the soft body paints, they tend to have more opaque colors. These with Liquitex, it's one of the complaints a lot of people have with them. They're too translucent. Well, for me, I glaze everything, so that's perfect for me. But if, in this case, all I have to do to make it show up is put a light color underneath it, and now I can get this really nice bright orange. I'm letting that layer over some of my shadows. Just let those brush strokes show. It is a raven, Fabsim draws. I may call him a crow because I have a tendency to do that, but he is a raven. He's got the bigger beak and the floofier neck. Okay. Let's get some highlights on this pumpkin. I'm not even letting it dry. I'm just going to grab some unbleached titanium white. If you do not have unbleached titanium white, take your regular titanium white and add another, like you can add some of your purple and brown to it. Anything just to tone it down so it's not so white. Actually, I'm even going to put a little bit of orange in that. Remember, nothing here needs to be perfect. That is definitely, this is not that kind of a painting. And it works better if you hold your hand back a little bit further on the brush. Remember, again, hold it back further. A couple little brush strokes with this highlight here. I've completely painted over his foot, so I'll have to add that back in. I'm going to use this same color, just add a little highlight there. A little too much. I may glaze that down later. We'll see. And while I've got this paint out, I'm going to go ahead and just get my lighter color. Use some of the orange, actually. I'm making mud at this point. Let's get some of that into my wood shelf. There we go. This color I'm liking way better for some of the highlights. And I'm just working this in between some of the wood grain that I already painted. So I'm not just completely covering everything I did. I'm just letting this work in with that. Much better. Yes, Brent, this raven can be named Poe. Oh, that's cool, Rachel. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone for now. We're going to go ahead and start on the raven. I need to switch to a smaller brush. And I'm still mixing black or purple in with my black. I'm not using just straight black. And I think I'm going to mix a teeny bit of my unbleached titanium white to gray this up some so that it's not that dark. There we go. So now I've got this dark kind of grayish purple color, which looks black when you paint it on, but it's not black. That way I can go a little bit darker, a little bit lighter from there. It's a little bit more, and actually I think I'm going to lighten that up a bit more. Let's pull some blue into that. And that blue that I'm using is a light blue that's pretty opaque, so it's kind of like adding white to it. That's better. So it's going to look, most likely, just because the camera will pick that up and look super black. It's not. If you did paint yours straight black, it doesn't make a huge difference because we're going to be adding black and highlights on top of it later. And this is a round, just a cheap, generic round number. I think that's either a 6 or an 8. I can't tell because there's paint over that part. Oh, the way that I'm doing Elf Lord's Journey, that I'm doing the split screen, it's a program called OBS. And I just hook up different cameras to it. But you set up in that program how many cameras, where you want them located, all that good stuff. Really good program. And it's pretty easy to use. Now, if I paint over where his feathers go, which I'm probably going to do, I can just use my transfer paper to put some of them back in. Or you could create some lighter ones now. Now I'm thinking I'm just going to be lazy. Or just paint the rest of him black, and I'm just going to use the transfer paper. This is what I kept changing my mind on earlier, but I think that this is actually going to save some time. Let's just keep going with that grayish color. Lighten it up a bit more. I'm going to fill him in. I'm going to go right over those feathers. You don't have to. You can paint around the feathers, whatever you want. But for me, I'm thinking I'm going to show you how much easier or how much time you can save if you've drawn it on another piece of paper. Whenever I... Oops, That's not the color I'm using. What am I thinking? Whenever I do this, where I've used tracing and transfer paper, I never throw away the transfer paper portion until I'm done with the painting in case I want to do what I'm about to. And I don't even care if his feet are accurate or very close. I'm going to use a smaller brush for a bunch of this to clean up a bit more, but good enough for now. Okay, I need to dry this before I can use the tracing and transfer paper. Patty Picasso wants to know if it's hard to set up a live stream. No, it took me a little bit of getting used to, but not really. You want to know, what was that other question? What's the most significant thing about blocking? I have no idea what you're asking. I'm going to dry that. Okay, I'm going to let that dry a little bit more. And by dry, I actually mean cool. I don't know why I said dry. If it's too hot, things don't work real. Let it set for a minute. And I actually think I'll come back through with a little bit more of a dark color for some of the shadows on this pumpkin here. But I'm going to get parts of the raven drawn out. I'm still trying to figure out, me too, what your question about blocking was. I'm not sure what you're asking. That's funny. Haley said, I turned off the porch light so I could watch uninterrupted. I'm guessing for trick-or-treaters. My mom was all excited. She was going to go to dinner tonight and then was like, no, I have to be home for the trick-or-treaters. And I'm like, you're giving up on the opportunity to go out with your family. I don't live there, so it wasn't me. I would have bugged her until she went. For trick-or-treaters, I'm like, there's plenty of other houses they can go to. Just don't turn your lights on. I thought that was kind of funny. She was all excited about dinner till then. Anyway. Can you guys see? I have pumpkins. You can't really see. They're upside down here. I have pumpkins and bats on my fingernails. Okay. This is still a little bit tacky, so we'll see how well the transfer paper sticks to it. So I'm going to take my drawing, line him back up. Oh yeah, my toes are nowhere near what my original drawing was. Whatever. They just need to look like chicken toes. Okay. So I'm going to take my handy transfer paper. Now with transfer paper, this you can reuse over and over again. I don't know if you can see all of the scratches and stuff on this one. You can use this again and again and again and again. One piece will last you so long. So let's redraw out approximately where things go. Like you can sit and freehand it. You absolutely can do that with, I would use my white tracing or charcoal pencil. But it just takes longer. And so doing this, I've already drawn it out. Why would I want to draw it out again? So I can save a bit of time and just loosely go over this. And especially, I say loosely because I don't need this to be exact. If you were doing something that was more exact, you would definitely want to. Now, another thing you want to notice, I've got the tracing paper portion taped down on two ends. If you just put a piece of tape in the middle, the paper will keep sliding back and forth and your lines will not all match up. So make sure you tape on two corners of the top. You don't want to tape all four corners because you need to be able to lift it and see what you've drawn out so far. I don't care about redrawing the feet because mine are already so far off from the original. Yeah, good enough. Okay. See what I mean? I mean, that's just so fast to do. And this is why you always want to save that tracing paper if you use tracing and transfer paper. Okay, so next, this is going to be, It's not really pop art, not really impressionism, just a messy brushstroke mess is what I am about to do. Let's see. So some of the smaller highlights, let me switch to a smaller round if I have one out. Yes. So I've got my Simply Simmons. This one is a round number 6. Again, you do not have to use the same thing as me, so don't freak out if you don't have it. I can also use this guy. There are a few other highlights I wanted to better define. So on him, I'm going to use some light blue and purple. I put out phthalo blue, but I don't even think I'm going to use that one tonight. Let's get some, oh, that is not going to be light enough at all. Oh, getting dry brush, so I need more water on that brush. Fabson Draw says, is transfer paper reusable? Yeah, okay, I already answered that. And no, it will not last forever. I mean, it does get to a point where you've used all of it. It's basically just a type of carbon paper that is safe for your artwork. So I've got him backlit a bit there. So it doesn't last forever, but it will last for years, depending on how much you use it. I mean, that one that I just used is probably 7 years old. Now, if I go too crazy with this, no big deal. I come back through with my darks, work back and forth to get it how you want it to look. It's not like every brush stroke has to be perfect and you can't fix it, or, you know, there's just, it's a very forgiving way to paint. So I'll get some highlights in here. Throw some feathers. And I'm going to come back here with darks again too. So it's okay to go too light here. Let me go with a slightly darker color. Still light, just not as light as what I was just using. Let's get some highlights on his chest, just a bit. More on his beak. Rich said, how does the transfer paper put line? It's carbon paper. It's just white carbon paper, basically. Same concept. Are you going to add illuminating fireflies to this painting? I am. If we have time, I definitely am. I think I'll make time because it's not like that takes long to do. So I'm working this brush in the approximate direction of the feathers. It's not exact. It doesn't need to be. I think I'm going to take some of this purple too and line part of, oops, that's getting muddy. Brown got in there. I'm going to line a little bit of the pumpkin with this just because I think it would look nice. Again, not going for realistic. If you're going for realistic, you're not going to want to do necessarily brush strokes that I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm just adding color and just balancing things out that I think would look nice. Okay, I want a larger brush for some of this. Mix some more of that purple. I can even take some of this purple and put that on the shelf as well, just pulling all of these colors together. Oops, that one. I got a little crazy. Let's wipe that off. Or thin it out anyway. There we go. Much better. Okay. Just pulling some more of the purples in there so that when I come back through with the blacks will really stand out. I'm going to lighten some of this up even more here. Oops, I think I'd rather have more blue than white. Let's pull that in. Oh yeah, definitely like that light blue mixed in. Just experiment. You're going to layer until you like how it looks. It does not have to be perfect. I mean, and this style isn't supposed to be perfect, but don't be afraid to make a mistake, especially when painting this style, because it really won't come out right if you're trying to be too much of a perfectionist. Pull some of that blue into the pumpkin too. Give it that little bit of a shiny feel to it. Okay, I'm going to rinse that brush off and come back through with some black. Megan said, if I don't have carbon paper, can we get similar results if we cover the back with a white pastel to transfer drawing? Yes. I mean, you have to play with it to get good at making that work. But yeah, that is a method that I've seen people do with graphite too. Okay, I'm going to go straight black now. Nice and dark. And this is really going to show up in a way that it wouldn't have if I would have done the bird black to start with. This is why I was more, wanted that kind of more muted grayish tone. Now, if your white lines from the transfer paper, or if you're using charcoal pencil, and this is something too, if you want, you can just use a charcoal pencil and freehand it on there without using any tracing and transfer paper at all. That's also an option. But I was going somewhere else with this and I forgot. We'll pretend that was the end of that story. I'm going to go right under that wing so that I can separate the body from the wing a bit. Got a shadow right under the beak. We'll make that stand out a little bit more here. Okay, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, rinse this one off. There's definitely too much water on that brush. Dab that on my paper towel. Let's make his eye nice and dark. This is just straight black that I'm using still. We'll still have to come back through and put a highlight on that eye, but I think I'm going to come through and pull some of the oranges from the bird up on, or the bird of the pumpkin onto him too. We'll pull this all together a little bit better. And I don't think I'm going to go dark orange, but a nice peach color. So I'll mix some unbleached titanium white, some yellow and the red. I'll let that show on him some more. So this type of painting, you'll see, I don't know if you can see me here, but I constantly am squinting. You want to back up and check to see what your balance is. This isn't something where you can look at the reference photo and just copy it exactly when you're painting like this. You want to make sure that your balance is well. So see if you need to, or I like to see it by backing away, or in this case, because I can't back away, just squinting at it constantly to get a feel for if there is something that would look like is kind of like standing out too much. You can also take your cell phone, take a photo of it, and looking at it on the small screen, things will stand out to you that you may want to adjust. And if I go too much with this, I'll just come back through with purples and grays. Don't let it scare you. Don't ever be afraid of your paint. Mistakes happen, and then you figure out how to fix them. I'm really liking the orange on the raven. I'm going to want to pull darker colors on the pumpkin though, and that'll help balance everything out a bit more. Let's get some more darks on his feet. If you have not seen, it'll be up for a couple more hours if you're watching this live. I put a video of chicken, speaking of chicken feet, on my Instagram stories. He was saying big chicken, well, squeaking big chicken, going, come on, big chicken, come on. It was so funny. And he was all excited. He's zooming all over my desk. It was adorable. You should go check that out. Okay, so I'm going to take some of this black now, actually. Let me switch brushes. Man, we are making good time on this one tonight. Well, actually, let's take this guy. We'll use the light blue. I need to put a little bit of a highlight. Now here's where I'll put a little bit more detail on a painting like this, is just around the eyes. Using that light blue. We'll get the little highlight up there. There we go. Thanks, Fabs and Draws. Tatiana says we have a bird at home, Nande Conyer. Could you please share our do's and don'ts about using art supply near your bird, please? What is safe and what is dangerous for the bird? For the most part, I don't like to have my birds in the room with me while I'm really doing anything, but especially oil paints. Oil paint, airbrushing, anything that they're going to breathe in fumes or anything, extremely toxic for birds. So those are the big things. If I'm working in graphite, he can come in, unless it's graphite powder, because that gets in the air and I don't want him inhaling that. Birds in their whole respiratory system is very sensitive, and so that's really what you want to watch for. I mean, even like cooking materials. What brush am I looking for? Oh yeah. Cooking things like cooking pans that have Teflon. The Teflon, if the Teflon pan gets too hot, that is extremely toxic for birds. My mom has actually killed several canaries when we were younger. She didn't know that, and she found out later. But they had been in the kitchen, and she had cooked with Teflon. That heats, and canaries are the most sensitive. But yeah, they're very sensitive with anything when it comes to respiratory type things. So even colored pencil, if I'm using OMS, I don't have him anywhere near it. Pan pastels, I wouldn't, anything with the chalk, anything like where the powder might get a little, even if it's minor. I'm overly paranoid. You're probably okay, but I am overly paranoid. And so I'd rather be safe than sorry. Acrylics, probably okay, but even that I get paranoid and I don't want them in there. Like if it's open like this, acrylics, they're non-toxic, especially the ones I'm using, but I still don't bring them in for it. Okay, so I'm going to pull this. This is the purple mixed with black again. I'm going to pull some of these deeper shadows in there. I'm going to smudge this a little bit. Let me grab, I had a brush over here that was a little bit damp. We'll use that just because I'm getting this dry brush look that I don't really want. But the reason I have to darken this back up is I need to darken up and balance out the bird. Right now it was kind of like, wow, that's super bright. So I'm pulling that back down. I'll probably pull a like backlit kind of highlight behind this. Okay. Wow, we may actually get some time for a Q&A session at the end of this. We're moving through a lot quicker than I expected. I was like so ready, like I'm trying to get something done in 2 hours, so I have to focus. Well, maybe I focused too much. Maybe I could have been answering questions as we went. Let's see, because we still have the fireflies. I still want to put some more highlights here. Let's go ahead and jump to, I guess we can do fireflies. Actually, I need to let this dry, so I'm going to let this set for just a minute, and then we'll do fireflies and highlights. Tatiana wants to know about markers and pigment markers, if they're dangerous for the bird. If you can smell it, my personal rule, now this is not like science, my personal rule is if I can smell it, I don't let him in here. So in this case, I can smell those markers, I don't want him near it. And I mean, when I was younger, we didn't know as much, and there were times I had bigger birds. Well, actually, no, I had a cocktail in the room too. And I had used oil paints. It was a paint by number in the room, and the birds were all fine. I didn't realize how toxic that was to them at the time when I was a kid. And my mom probably didn't realize what I was doing in my bedroom with the paints. She probably got that from me thinking I'd paint outside. But anyway, the birds were fine. So it's like, I know I'm being overly cautious with stuff, but I would rather, you know, again, that's just my rule. If I can smell it, I don't want the birds near it. But, I think it depends on how close they are too. I mean, I wouldn't want him on the desk with the markers. If he was across the room with the markers, it's probably okay. Especially, you know, I guess it would depend too. Do you have a window open? There are other things like that, but yeah, I have a tendency to be overly paranoid about stuff, like worrying about worst case scenario. And I worked at an animal hospital for several years. So my gosh, that will make you super paranoid because you see every worst case scenario when someone does something unsafe with their pet, whether it be thinking, oh, my dog can be off the leash, it's safe, till it got hit by the car. I mean, you know, things like that. And so I'm definitely one of the over-the-top paranoid about everything because I did work at an animal hospital and saw all those worst-case scenarios. But like my own pets, I never really experienced many of them, besides my mom killing the canaries. But okay, so this is probably dry enough. We can go ahead with some fireflies. Now, typically, a lot of times when I do fireflies, I will use transparent mixing white. You can use that. I'm going to be lazy because I have my white here. I'm just going to use my titanium white, which is more opaque. So what I'm going to do, this brush here, it's kind of stiff. It's a little bit damp, not too damp. I want to dry most of that off. Now I'm going to take a smaller brush. There's a little bit of water there. You don't want too much or it will spread, kind of disappear when you put your little fireflies. So my little dot. And then I can just smudge out my outer edge. Just a little. And I'm going to leave that one alone for now. Now the original one that I had done with the black cat, I used the airbrush on that. But we're not going to do that tonight. We'll do it this way since I know a lot of people don't have the airbrush. And see, I want this to be a little bit translucent. I'm going to make them more opaque in the centers, but I want like this soft glow is the portion that I'm creating now. So we'll go brighter, but not just yet. Now, on the original one that I had done with the black cat, I just left these white. I'm going to tone these down. We're going to do a little bit of a yellowy glow to them. Maybe I shouldn't put a dot under where it's like bird turds. That may not be the best location for a firefly. Let's see. Joanna said, have you tried coloring and underpainting in complementary colors with your colored pencils? I have not. I've seen it done. Like I saw where someone took just, here on YouTube, she's amazing. She took yellow, red, and blue and made an entire painting, and it was amazing with just those basic colors. She mixed so much from that. But no, I don't typically do underpaintings for colored pencil, other than, I mean, you saw me do the airbrush recently. Well, Patreon saw it. You haven't seen it on YouTube yet. You will. Another thing you can do with this is just stick your finger in it, and that'll tone it down quite a bit too. If you're having trouble with the smudging out the edges, just make your dot and stick your finger in it. It's not as soft, but it is a suitable, it'll still look like a firefly. I came up with an idea. I started working on the concept yesterday for a surreal painting that I am so excited about. It includes fish, coral, and a lion, because those things totally go together, and an octopus. And it is, I think it's going to be a better one. Like, I'm pretty excited about starting that one. So I've got to finish. I'm working on a pelican right now, the colored pencil one. That's going to be a two-parter for Patreon. The above water is going to be 1 week, and then the water reflection, we're just going to really focus on the second week so I can have that slowed down even more. But after that, that project, I am doing this surreal one. It'll be an acrylic painting, and I am ridiculously anxious to start it. I have an idea for that, and then another one that uses a zebra instead of a lion. Oh, I could do it with a giraffe too. I have so many ideas right now with this concept, which hopefully works out well, because I want to paint a lot of paintings in a similar fashion. Okay, let's get a few more little guys over here. You know, I can't stop looking at these ones as like chicken turds falling out. You can tell I spend too much time with Chicken, who makes that happen a lot. I probably shouldn't have put fireflies there, or maybe it's just because I spend too much time with Chicken that I'm making that assumption of anything under the bird. I'm an adult whose mind works like, apparently, a 10-year-old. Let's see. I keep looking at the cat one to see, like, where did I put fireflies on that? What do I want to do differently? But I don't know. It doesn't need to be the same. I guess I could do one in front of, let's make that a little brighter. Do I want any in front of the crow? Let's see. Sure, he can have that one. This firefly is your buddy. Treat him well. Okay, I'm gonna, ooh, I have a dot that shouldn't be there. Let's turn it into an actual firefly. Oh, but now that looks weird. I don't like these two across, so let's make another one. I don't know, good enough. Okay, rinsing this off. Unfortunately, Gail, chicken turds. Unfortunately, my chicken does not turn fireflies. I would be happy if that's what came out of that bird. What cat painting? I have it linked in the video description. There was one that I did, so if you want to do another painting that goes with this style, there was a cat one that I did years ago, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, with 3 pumpkins and a black cat with a very similar, like, everything's very the same style. So that's in the video description. Okay, I need these to dry. I guess I can take the hairdryer. Plug your ears. Okay, this part is pretty easy. Just gonna take water, a little bit of yellow. I don't know if I want just straight yellow. Do I want yellow? Yeah, that'll work. Just going around the edge there. No blending required for this. Kind of liking how this yellow stands out a lot against that purple. I mean, which makes sense. They're complementary colors, but that yellow glow, I am really liking. Yay. I like when things work out. Okay. Just kind of a stupid statement. Who wouldn't like when things work out? I'm going to take white. Actually, I'll add even a little bit of yellow to that. The white. But I still want it to be lighter than what I had. And I'm just going to put like a little dot in the center and then dab it with my finger. So there's my little highlight of the brightest part of the little bug. If you are painting in oils, do not use your finger for that. Many of the oils, especially the whites, still have zinc and lead in them, like the zinc white does, so you don't want to use your fingers in your oil paints. Acrylics, you're pretty safe. I mean, I'm sure maybe there are some acrylics that aren't safe, but all the ones I use are. Can you guys tell I'm completely obsessed with fireflies lately? I put them in everything. Even the pelican that I'm working on, I'm pretty sure I'm going to put fireflies there too. They make everything so sparkly. And the point of smudging that with my finger is so it's not just a dot, it just softens it out a bit, but it still keeps it pretty bright. Brighten up a little bit. Actually, not that one. Too opaque. Let's pull some yellow and a little bit of white. I'm going to brighten up around where that firefly is. Not sure why, because obviously nothing else on this painting is realistic, but whatever. We'll throw some highlights on there. Ooh, too much water. I can tell there's too much water because it started to like catch and run. If your paint is running at all, you have way too much water. Get some unbleached titanium white. Yeah, it's Rich says I eat some cereal that has zinc in it. Yeah, zinc is actually fine. It's not zinc. It's the zinc white has lead in it. That's the problem. Not the zinc, but the zinc white has lead. Now I'm just kind of fussing over little things. I mean, everything's pretty much done. I'm just playing with it because, well, we're done. That's really it. Wow, we finished this in just an hour and 20 minutes. That is faster than I expected by a lot. So yeah, we can do a Q&A session now. We've got time left. I may sit and fuss over little details on this, but if you guys have any other questions now, we can go ahead and answer those. This was surprisingly fast. I think I'll just fuss over little things here and there, like pull some more blue. But yeah, if you've got questions now about anything at all, feel free to ask them. You know, well, anything kind of art related. Yeah, I know, it is weird not having Val with us tonight. She's off on Halloween adventures. We fired her for the night so she could go do Halloween adventures. And if you guys haven't already checked out our moderators' channels, they are listed below in the video description. Even Valerie, who's not here, but she's there too. She's got a cool channel too. We've got Nick, we've got Joseph Fincham. Make sure they've got great channels and thank them for helping because they do a lot of work for me. Thanks, Gail. What cat one, Lisa, can we get to it? It's in the video description. Do I use water? Yes, I am thinning this paint with water. And ideally, make sure, I mean, there's not too much of a chat going on right now since we had cut off questions for the painting portion. But if you make sure you've got it highlighted the @Lachri Fine Art. If it's not highlighted in orange, I'm not guaranteed to see it. Just a few little highlights here and there. Nothing I'm doing is, I mean, well, on this painting, nothing is necessary. But I mean, you don't have to continue with this stuff. This is just kind of time-killing stuff. I've got the time, so I may as well fuss over fun little things. A little bit of shine on that pumpkin. Jenny said, I'm combining the Patreon triple pumpkin painting that I haven't finished with the raven, but I think my bird is too small for the giant pumpkins. I don't know. Have you seen, like, I went to the nursery about a month ago or 2 months ago, and they were the first I saw with pumpkins out. Yeah, so it was about a month ago. They were huge, huge. So, you know, it could still work. Vladimir said, what type of varnish do you use? And I'm using Liquitex gloss medium and varnish. Should I put a permanent varnish on it that itself is okay? I use the Liquitex gloss varnish is what I use, but I typically put a spray varnish on first, like a light matte varnish, not a gloss, and let that dry, and then put the Liquitex gloss varnish on top of that. I have found that for some reason when you put the Liquitex gloss varnish, sometimes on with the Liquitex Basics anyway, some of the paint will smudge a little. So like if I took the black over the white of the pumpkin, sometimes you'll be able to see that move around. But if I put a seal, like if I do a spray varnish first, a matte varnish, I don't have that problem. I have a video though, how I varnish acrylic paintings. If you just look up, I think it's on the front page of my YouTube channel, so you should be able to find it pretty easily. Fabsman Draw says, in your opinion, is marketing hard? No, but it doesn't. See, it's funny to say, okay, so it's not that it's hard. It's once you understand it. It's kind of like, I don't know, learning to write in calligraphy. If you ask somebody if it's hard, well, okay, at first you didn't understand it and it was hard. But once you understood it, then it was fairly easy. There's so many marketing podcasts out there. Listen to them. And you don't need to search the ones for art. Really, honestly, most of the marketing podcasts that I found for art don't have as much useful information for artists as the marketing podcasts that are just general marketing. I found better information that way, or more information that you can then apply to your art. So, yeah, definitely watch those things. But I don't think it's that it's hard. It's just that you have to first understand certain, you know, basic concepts. And the funny thing with marketing, it is constantly changing. So what works, like, because a lot of with marketing is social media, and what works on social media today may be the exact opposite of what you want to do tomorrow. It change, so you kind of have to keep up with that a little bit. But I don't think it's hard. It's just getting your mindset in it. And I know as artists, as creatives, we have a tendency to be terrible at that sort of thing, at the business side. And if you want to, you know, make a living as an artist, you've got to understand both. So even me, I don't really push to sell my originals that hard. I mean, I could, but it takes time, and I haven't put the time into that. I push more for the learning, the teaching side of things. And I still have to learn marketing in order to get people to know it's there. It's just a way of helping people to find you. Ideally, you have something that people would be interested in, but the marketing is the thing that helps you to get it out there so that people are aware that you exist, that your product or your teaching or whatever it is that you're offering exists. Choco Milk said, in my college painting class, they are making us paint on paper, and it is tedious. Do you have any tips? Hopefully they're letting you gesso the paper first. Paper it soaks the water up, and so like with acrylics or oils, it's kind of weird, but hopefully if they let you gesso it first, it's fine. I like to tape it down, just because well, you have to be careful though. If you leave the tape on too long, it'll tear your paper, or it can, depending on what type of tape you use. But, yeah, that's gesso. Gesso is my tip. Okay, I guess I can keep fussing over little bits here and there. Oh yeah, I was going to add a little bit more detailing to the wood grain. Ooh, that is a lot brighter than I thought it was going to be. I can make it work. Let's take this brush, get it a little wet. Ooh, too much. You know what? I don't like how that came out. All I'm going to do, take that brush with straight water. I'm going to wipe that off. This is an easy way to fix things on your canvases when you decided to try something and it didn't work out. Just take a clean brush with water. I'm going to take a paper towel and just dab that up. See? No damage done. I mean, I'm not going to do that brush stroke again with that color. Mind My Deal said, did you know you can actually sell products on Instagram stories if you have a following over 10K? I was stunned. Though Instagram didn't allow direct selling. Yeah, see, and I don't know, because I think they have like their swipe up feature, and I need to look more into this, because I think it was more you had to have a business account. The problem is with Instagram, and I knew this was going to happen, if you have a business account, it seems like unless you pay to advertise, your content doesn't get shared with as many people. So to me, it's not worth having less people see, because I'd rather have people go watch the videos anyway. I just tell people the links in the video description. But yeah, that may, I don't know. I need to look into it because I should technically have access to the swipe up feature on Instagram stories and I don't. And I'm not sure, like, I need to look more into, maybe my app is just out of date. I don't know. But I know that a lot of features, you get more features if you're a business account, and I have not researched this, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just need to update my thing. But I do know a lot of those features or they had other features. I think it was originally more analytics. I don't know what else they had, but for business accounts. So yeah, I'm going to have to look into that because I don't want to switch my account over because I know they're going to do the same thing. And we knew that they were going to. A lot of people said they wouldn't. And it's like, yeah, you just watch because they're owned by Facebook. They did the same thing they did to us with the Facebook pages. Build a following, get more share or more followers, and more people will see your stuff. And then they cut it because they want people to pay to advertise instead. So they put advertisements. No, this is not Instagram. This is Facebook. But again, same company. They put advertisements on your content that they want you to pay to promote. So they're double dipping. They want, like YouTube puts advertisements on here, but they share some of that cut with us. But even if they didn't share it, it's still like, they're freely letting us share our content with people. With Facebook, hardly anyone sees your posts anymore. So on the Facebook page, like the business pages. So even if the nonprofits are still having the same problem, if you don't pay, they don't share it with your followers. And so with Instagram, that's why I haven't wanted to switch over to the business account, and I'm not sure what features are business side versus personal. I have to look into it. So basically, I don't know anything. Leanne said, is this a beginner-friendly painting? Absolutely. This is like, if you were a beginner, this is perfect for you. Shelby said, is your background purple or blue? It is purple. I've noticed it looks a different color on different screens. Yeah, it is. I mixed dioxazine purple with a light blue. And let's pull this forward so you can see a little bit better. Let's see. That shows you better what the lighting is. Actually, I wonder if I can fix my easel so that you guys can see that for the rest of the live stream. It's not practical for me to paint, but no, that's not working because the light's going with it. Let's do... 1 second. I think I can make it since I don't need to see what I'm doing anymore so that you can see better. Not really. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Yeah, that kind of looks, that's probably a better way so you can see. There we go. Okay, let me pull back up my questions. Whoops. Gail said, I missed you. The lights had a bird making demands. Was it the brush or airbrush? Oh, for the little fireflies, it was just a paintbrush. I just put a dot and then kind of smudged it out. You can back the video up. You'll be able to see it. You unfortunately can't really see well. Let me see if I can get a good picture for you guys and post it on Instagram. And that way you can see better lighting. If I can get a good, hold on. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to post this photo to Instagram right now. And then you guys, if you head over there, you can see much better what this looks like. So let's go over to Instagram. Sorry, I don't like to do this during the live stream because I know it's kind of awkward. Pause. Okay. I can add hashtags and stuff later so I don't bug you guys with this. And I do need to add hashtags to that, but for now. Okay, it is up. If you go over to Instagram right now, you can see the colors that I use. So you can see that the fireflies have more of the yellow glow. You can also see more accurately the color. That's pretty accurate anyway, that I used for everything. Okay. Larry said, are you using the tube paints only, or do you also use the liquid ones? These are all that I used tonight, the Liquitex Basics. So it's these here. Let's see. So yeah, in the video, you can't really see how much blue I've used in the bird. That's why head over to Instagram. This post is there, and you can definitely get a better idea of those colors that I've used. But yeah, the background is purple. It's dioxazine purple mixed with a little bit of blue to lighten it up, but it doesn't even have a bluish tint. The blue basically just lightened things up. Okay, I guess I can sit and fuss over the this a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, my deal is that exactly. It looks, yeah, go over to Instagram and look at that. And the link to Instagram should be in the video description. But the difference in the color versus what, unfortunately, you see on a live stream camera, it's kind of huge. You'll be able to see it's much brighter and more bold, and I definitely like it better than what you're able to see on this. Like, I can see the screen that you guys are seeing, and it's not, unfortunately, not quite the same. And I think one of the things, too, with the Instagram photo that helps is the oranges and the blues you're really not seeing, and that definitely made a big difference in the balance. Ooh, I don't really love this here because it doesn't balance out. Let's pull you into, oops, too much water. I guess as we sit here for the next half an hour looking at each other awkwardly, I can find, start noticing little things that I want to change. There we go. I like that better. Gail said the purple is the exact color of my mini called Black Eye Blue. Jennifer said, wow, yes, on Instagram, much more purple. It's beautiful. Thank you. More purple and I think more orange. Like, all the colors are just quite a bit more bold in person. That's really the downside of doing the live streams. The cameras just, and maybe part of it's my setup too, because of the way that the lights are, but the cameras definitely don't capture things quite the way I think they really look. Fab Some Draws says, how do you attempt at black and white acrylic painting? Just black and white. I use my titanium white and Mars black. I don't like lamp black or ivory black. Those are going to be too translucent and have kind of, they don't work. Not for black and white paintings, in my opinion. I don't like how those look, but just straight titanium white, Mars black, those are the colors that I use, and you're just going to paint it. Where's the crow's shadow? He's a magic crow. He doesn't have one. I told you, this is not a realistic painting by any sense of the imagination. Yeah, Joseph says it flew away. Yep. Have a good night, Gail. Thanks for joining. We can actually just wrap this up a bit early because, I mean, it's just going to be awkward sitting here now that I have nothing else to really mess with on this. I did not think I was going to finish it this early at all. That actually surprised me. Yes, it is a raven named Poe. I needed to adjust my Instagram post to accommodate that. Yeah, I meant to record this and didn't. See, you guys told me to before too, and for some reason I thought I had it going and it just wasn't. But the live stream cameras just, yeah, they aren't ideal. Okay, well, yeah, we can go ahead and wrap this up unless you guys have any more questions. Nick said, does acrylic paint dry lighter like the watercolor or Inktense? Does it change at all as it dries? No, but what happens, okay, so occasionally you get, especially with the Liquitex Basic or any matte acrylic paint, you're going to get people who say it dries lighter or more muted than when you apply it wet. It's not that the color shifted. There is rarely a color shift. The only time I've seen an actual color shift, teals and turquoises tend to shift. I don't know why. In any brand I've used, that seems to be, unless I use it straight out of the tube, then it stays accurate. But if I mix it on my own, that seems to always dry quite a bit different. But other than that, there really isn't any color shift. What happens is when it dries, it's flat. When when it dries, it's no longer glossy. The glossiness is gone. Now it looks more dull. So when this is completely done, you add gloss over it and that vibrancy comes back to just what it looked like when it was wet. But there really isn't a color shift there. It's just a difference of glossy versus matte in that the way that the light is kind of bouncing off or reflecting through there. Tabson Draws said, are you going to paint ravens flying through the sea anytime? That might be kind of cool. That sounds random enough that I would do that. Lori said, do we use the post to get the video of this painting? Huh? I don't know. Huh? Not sure what you're asking. I deserve an early night. Thank you, Gail. Thanks, Molly. Yeah, I actually may clean up and get some work done on my Pelican. I've got a lot of work. I can actually show you. Nah, I'll show you guys later. I'll post on Instagram. I've got some work to do. But thank you guys for joining. Make sure to head over and check out our moderators' channels. That they are linked in the video description, along with head over to Instagram and you can see what this actually looks like. And I'll put a link to that in the comments when I'm done here. So, yeah. We are done. I will see you guys next week where we will probably still, there's a very good chance it'll be colored pencil again, continuing the water of the raven, or not the raven, the pelican. I don't think I'll be ready to start the surreal painting that I have just yet. Maybe, but probably not. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks again for joining us and yay, bye.